This will be fun. Okay. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I have a fascinating guest with me today. I found out about this girl from I was watching the meditation conversation with Kara Goodwin, who's been on my show before. And who I'm talking about is Mina the Andromedan. She's an Andromedan Archangel Lyran Hybrid who sits on the Andromedan Council, who is sent to Earth help humanity realize its potential and choose higher timelines. She is of the Emerald Order of the Central Race. She's a channeler of messages in light language. She offers readings in which she uses her psionic abilities, messages from source, guides, Akashic records, remote viewing, timeline shifting through quantum field to access what you need to know in order to help those who are sent to her via source to help facilitate a higher ascension trajectory. Now, she'll be doing we'll be taking audience questions today, but it'll be more like about like the galaxy, the universe, the solar system, galactic history, alien races history, stuff like that. Like it won't be like personal readings, you know what I mean? But like you guys can ask any question on like galactic history or like here's a good one. Like Dean Thorpe asked, he says, "Is there a group I can call in when I dream or astral? Who are those who populate my dreams characters?" Okay, so some stuff like that's good. And yeah. And yeah, but with all that said, I'd like to give Mina a big welcome to the show. Mina, thank you for coming on. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. It's great.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Like I said, I saw your interview on the meditation conversation with Kara Goodwin, and it was really interesting. I guess this all started off with you with like it was like you were being military abducted. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more, I wouldn't say necessarily military specifically, but government. Yeah. So I was taken as a child, kind of the New Mexican Montauk Project when I was like in kindergarten. So, yeah.
What all have you been able to learn about that? Because I have a lot of my lab victims on my show. So like have you
Mm.
ever done like a lot of research into it or like found out like what was going on? Or I mean, I know it's hard because it's not, I know that's a hard question because there's probably not a lot you can piece together, especially about your childhood, especially something so secretive. Like those projects are sealed up pretty good. Like they do a good job of like letting people not know about them. And then on top of that, they make people think they're crazy when they start to question if they were in one of these programs. So it's like
Mhm.
it's very tricky, it's very hard to pin down. But like what were you able to ascertain about what happened to you?
Well, I mean, that was one incident, but there was others. And so there was too many things that basically they just spelled it out. I didn't really have to do much digging. But essentially, I was led, my higher self did lead me. And I stumbled across the Crest files, which you might know what that is, which is the declassified documents of the CIA. And I found this one project that they did on kids. Now, it was a cooperation between China and the United States on children with gifts and abilities. And they did this kind of study on them and, this kind of thing. And it was like this kind of collaboration between the two countries. Now, of course, they didn't really talk about what they did to the Americans, but they made it seem like they were doing all the research on Chinese kids. But this was around the time that I got, taken for 4 months every day during school days. So, the fact that I was led to that and put two and two together, and the fact that I had psionic abilities, and it was something actually that my whole family has. And the fact that my mom was in the military, she was, working for the Pentagon. And there was just way too many things that were in line that led me to that. Then on top of that, we were in New Mexico. So first of all, like there's that. We were in Tucumcari, but I did the math because it was like an hour and a half to get to the location. And it was Clovis Air Force Base is an hour and a half away. So there is some things that, kind of led me to believe. Then there's the fact that I have memories of a missile silo. And this is from a young age. I was probably like second, third grade when I had these memories and I described it. And I should know what that's like. And then I went back as an adult, moved back to New Mexico and found it's been converted into a solar farm. But there was that, and then my mom was had notes put on her door, and because I was getting strep throat a lot, as a child. And so, I mean, like literally somebody would have it a mile down the road and I would catch it. So she had these notes put on her door, and it was like from the New Mexico University Hospital in Albuquerque that said, if you bring your child, is your child getting strep throat a lot? Well, if you bring your child in, we can do a research study and we'll pay you. And then, you know, you might get some test medicine, and then your child won't get strep throat anymore. And you know, my mom was a single parent at the time, and so she kind of took them up on the offer. And I remember going, and they would inject me with things as a child, and I never got strep throat again. I also never got anything again. I never got the flu. I never got anything from that point. So there's a number of events that kind of struck a chord, that, you know, and then the fact that I have an FBI number and I've had it since before I was 18. So, and I don't know if you know what that is, but I'll
No, what
explain
is
it.
that?
Yeah. So back then, if you Googled, like, let's say in 2009, what an FBI number was, I was applying for some acronym government agencies when I was in university. You know, my mom was military, I was military. So it seemed like the right thing to do. I have a cousin who's in the acronyms. But anyways, and the lady told me, she goes, "Did you know you have an FBI number?" And I was like, "No, what's that?" And she goes, "I can't tell you, but you can Google it." So 2009, I Googled it, and it said it was given to a terrorist or a person of interest. Well, obviously, before the age of 18, I was not a terrorist. So I was a person of interest. So now I think if you Google it, it says something completely different, if you can even find anything about it. So, yeah.
I think it's crazy though that the government, that certain factions of the government were doing this when, like, you know, it's I believe you 100%. But what I'm saying is it's so rude of them to, like, you know, like they have like, so there's like someone like your mom, for example, who's like working hard for the government, and she's like working for the Pentagon to, like, you know, do the national security of the country, and then they're taking her daughter and doing and then there's a black faction of the military taking her daughter and doing like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
uh you know, weird experiments on it. It had to build up an extreme distrust in your mom with the government.
Yeah,
You know?
well, and with the first time she fled, I mean, she had already left the military. So that cemented that, and she stopped working for even contractors for the military. So that was after that, and she left it, fled. Literally, like after she found out I was like being taken, she dipped out. And she took me, and then we left and moved to Albuquerque after that. But yeah, she absolutely definitely started having distrust in the government. She actually became a Tea Party member after that. So if that tells you anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, so she definitely lost her trust in the government. But what's interesting is, as I was told by my higher self, that during that time they took me, they didn't really find out things. Like, we've always had gifts. My whole family has gifts, and we're psychic, it's telepathic, those type of things. But during that time, that was before I had died the first time, and I had gotten a soul fractal back. So they didn't really learn a lot. So lucky for me, but you know, if they had caught me later on, yeah, it would have been pretty bad.
What happened with the whole? I wanted to ask you about your psionic abilities, but I'll ask you this first. What happened with the whole dying thing? Like, what happened with that? You said the first time, so you died multiple times. You feel and came
Oh,
back.
oh no, I have legal clinically. Yeah. I've actually died 4 times clinically, and then had multiple numerous near death experiences later. But the first time was at 9. I was pulled under by Riptide at Galveston Beach and drug under, you know, with an undertow a mile down the beach, and I had to be resuscitated, and you know, all of that CPR and stuff. And so that was the first time. And then after that was actually an attempted suicide, and that I died 4 times on the way to the hospital. And it was funny because, not funny haha, but funny ironic, because the last time that, you know, my heart stopped, I was like floating in nothingness. And like later I realized that was space, but it was like complete nothingness. No, there wasn't any feeling, there wasn't nothing, like literally, and it was black all the way around. And then I hear a disembodied voice, and it was a male. I get a male energy, and he goes, "Did you think it would be that easy?" And I said, "No, but did it have to be that hard?" like this sucks, and he's like, you can't die. And I was like, what? Why I would like to. Things, can we just stop all that? This is horrible. And he's like, no, you've got a mission to do, you got to come back. So I was like, okay. And so it's funny because the psychiatrist came afterwards, with an attempted suicide. They always ask you, like, if we release you, are you going to do this again, all this stuff. And she asked me that, and I said no. And she goes, well, what changed your mind? You just attempted to take your life. And I said, I can't die. So that's literally what I told her. I can't die. And what would be the point? It's pointless at this point. And so she was just like, okay, well, I'll let her go. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'll let her go. And then I didn't. I never did that again because I realized, and I had many times after that, I had a really abusive relationship. He almost drowned me. And so, well, he did drown me, but what I'm saying is I didn't die. And so I had a lot of near-death experiences. I had a severe illness when I lived in China that pretty much did me in. It was some kind of flu. I realized very quickly whatever affects them affects us differently because they're used to that environment. So me coming in as a foreigner, I got what they got and it almost killed me. So, but it was like a cold for them. Yeah. So it's just interesting. A lot of different things that happened. And every time I would come back with another fractal of my soul, I'd have more memories. I'd have more gifts. So it was always in a divine purpose because it wasn't ever just like nothing happened because of it,
I was going to say, do you think our lives are like preordained to a certain degree in that sense that you were meant to do this and like those things were meant to happen?
I wouldn't say meant, I would say choice. It was my choice. Because I didn't cross the veil of forgetting. So even as a child, I would tell my mom, like, you're not my mom. Like it may appear that way, but we're not. So I was an 11-month-old little baby telling my mom like these complete sentences and saying like, oh, I wouldn't be caught dead in that, when she put a Christmas dress on me. So I was very, very advanced for my age. I was climbing on top of the roof at 2 years old at 3 a.m. and looking at the stars. Like, I wasn't exactly a normal child. So I had memories from before. I remembered like the creation of this universe. I remember I could tell her things. I had dreams of like nuclear like holocausts and things like that at a very young age. I shouldn't even have known about these things. And this is before really the internet was prevalent. This is before a lot of things. So the fact that all this stuff was happening, let me know that, okay, well, maybe I'm not so normal. And the more that I met more people, I was like, oh, you mean everybody can't do that? Okay. So yeah,
you've been in the community for like a long time. I heard you say that you started using the term starseed in about 2009. So you've kind of been aware of your abilities and you've been involved in this and like for some time now, it sounds like. Is that correct?
Yes, but I wasn't in the community because I didn't even know there was a community. I just thought it was me and like my local friends. Like I didn't know other people were doing this. Like, this was like 2009. It wasn't such a big thing. People weren't going online and talking about this stuff. So I only had my local community in New Mexico and I would activate these other star seeds and I would explain what a star seed was and we would have these conversations and then they would start activating their light language and then we practice telepathy and we practice these gifts. But I didn't know there were other people like me. So I just thought I was just like a weirdo, like by myself doing this stuff. And then it wasn't until much later that I realized that there was actually other people. And then when I came into the online scene, which wasn't actually until January that I really started coming out again online at full force with the spirituality thing. This past year. So it wasn't until then that I realized how big the community was. I just thought, oh, well, there's like ufologists, there's like, that's the extent of it, but nobody who's like me, who's a starseed. So
yeah, that's interesting. Well, here, let's go back. It's in time a little bit. Like, when was your first remembrances of your psi abilities or psionic abilities?
Oh God. I mean, like I said, my whole family has like gifts. It's like, it's almost generational. My mom's side of the family always had like prophetic dreams, telepathy, psychic abilities, seeing things, ESP, all the clairs, stuff like that. And we just
Oh, so
didn't.
you're really tapped in then. You have a lot of psychic gifts, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it's kind of generational. Like I said, my whole family, and so it's weird because I thought this was normal. Because again, being in a family that does this, we do it. We don't really talk about the why. We just know that we have it and we use it, and so it's nothing for us to have a conversation without speaking. Or like I call, my brother calls, and my sister calls all at the same time to my mom, or stuff like that. And so we're really, really tapped into our gifts, but we didn't really, I guess, think about it like the why, and why is this happening, and is there a reason. It was more just something we did.
When did you
And
start putting all that together? Like the why and like the galactic stuff and the fact that you're a star seed and like, you know what I mean?
yeah, well, I since a little kid I've always been connected to this. I knew I came from space. I just didn't know the specifics of it, probably because I couldn't understand it just yet. I didn't start, I had memories. So I had memories from 3 lives when I came into this world. I had memories of my Mintakan mermaid life. I had memories of being a cetacean being on Sirius B. And then I had memories of Archangel. Archangel Michael has always been with me my whole life, literally since the very first memories I can remember. So those 3 I've always had. Then as I died, every time I died, I integrated more memories. I got more memories every single time. So I'd remember another life. I'd remember a Spican life. I'd remember Procyon. I remember, Pleiadian. I remember, and the last one to remember was Andromedan. So I had multiple lives in Andromeda and different species of what people call Andromedan, but there's Andromedan constellation, Andromedan galaxy. So those would start to integrate. And so that was the last one. And that's when I started to come online with the Andromedan Council. And that wasn't until about 2017. So.
Yeah, and do you are you still having contact right now? Would you say, or like like up until
Oh,
recent, like
oh
yeah.
yeah. I just posted a video of my Pleiadian ship that's me with the video. I'm talking to them, and my voice actually changes into a weird like alien trill, and then I commanded it to come back. So this is all on film. Like I'm here in Bulgaria, Europe, and they actually followed me. I have ships that follow me all the time, and I post videos, a lot of it. So.
Oh shit! I wonder we should have. I should have looked it up so we could have posted it. Or watched it during the show. That would have been cool to watch some videos like while we did the
Can,
interview.
can
But I mean,
can It's on Instagram, but I can also send you. It's on YouTube too. If you can you pull it up and screen share with that? Because it's
I
pretty
can
cool.
try my computer is like, it's not old, but it's like it moves really slow. I need to update my equipment. Like I have like really high speed internet too, but like
Can
for some
can
reason,
I
like
do it?
it's like when yeah, you can
I
do
can
it. It might be
present.
faster if
Yeah.
you do. Yeah, yeah. I can tell you
Okay.
how to share screen and stuff. I
Present.
can I can direct you. I don't know. Yeah, you go present
Uh,
and then you do like entire screen, and then once you add it to the bottom of the screen, I'll add it to the I'll add it to the yeah.
okay. Hold on just a second. Let me. Can I just do? Okay. We do YouTube. One second. Can you see this or? Oh wait.
No, you have to hit present, then you do entire screen, and then it'll show up at the bottom here, and then I have to add it to the screen. If you
I got you. Okay. It's I gotta give permissions. 1 second. There it is. Okay. Cool. Oh. Okay. Can I join, leave, and come back?
yeah, you
Okay.
I'll just talk to the chat while you come back. Yeah,
Okay.
like okay. 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 So, how's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's good. This should be fun. She's got some really interesting stuff. It seems like I should have pre-planned for that like beforehand, but I wasn't thinking about it. So everybody kind of just like hang in there and like we'll. Oh, Earth Sign, you're listening to Blondie's Rapture. I love Blondie. I love like '80s disco, all that stuff. That's good stuff. So who's all in the chat? Selena Ingles is in the chat. Hi, Selena. Maya Kai is in the chat. Hi, Maya. Jamie Angel Wings is in the chat. Hi, Jamie. Abby Herrera is in the chat. Hi, Abby. Sheba Weenu's in the chat. Hi, Sheba. Let's see who else. Earth Sign. I said Earth Sign already. Don Rogers in the house. Who else? I thought Derek was in here. Hi, Derek. Simo's in the house. Dean Thorpe. Oh, sorry. I was just giving shout outs while you're waiting.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just going to pull up YouTube real quick and get the video. Okay.
Oh, Karen Lambert's in the house. Hey, Karen. Good to see you. I hope it works.
Yeah, it's pulled up.
It should have no problem. It should have no problem
Yeah.
with it. It should be fun.
All right, so I'm gonna present now. Okay, so share screen.
Thank you, Jamie, for gifting a membership out to someone. That's great.
All right, now can you guys see?
I can't see it. It isn't showed up at the bottom for me to present yet. Like,
oh, I
don't know why.
Selected present. Okay,
Yeah, I'll go through it. You present, then you hit entire screen, and then you have to hit
share.
Wait, you go. Yeah,
Can you hear
that
it?
came up. Hold on, now I gotta add it. Yeah, I'm gonna add it. Hold on.
Okay.
So now I'll add it. It takes a second to It went away. Where'd it go?
Oh, because I switched to the actual video.
Okay, now it's back. It's back. I gotta add it to the stage. Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
And then it takes a second to pull up, but it should do it in a second. Like my
Can I do full screen or?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's just taking forever to add. Oh, there we go. It's finally added it.
Cool.
It should be moving faster than this. I don't know why it's not. It's
Just let me know when you want me to play because I got to hit play.
Go ahead, hit play. We're good.
Okay. Can you hear the audio?
I can't hear the audio.
Oh, because it's playing for me. Okay. So the whole thing was I was trying to show everybody a moonbow, which is like the moon rainbow.
Yeah.
And then I happened to catch my ship, and I'll zoom in a second once I see it. And it's rainbows. So it's a Pleiadian Taigetan ship, which is the race that I was of Pleiadian. And so
now, in terms of galactic history, are the Pleiadians the Andromedans? Are they like cousins or something?
No,
or are they completely different?
Yeah, the Pleiadians come from the Syrian Lyrian kind of line. Even the Syrians really come from the Lyrians. Andromedans really don't mix. They're kind of their own thing. A lot of them are light beings, so that's why they don't mix, because they're light beings. So they don't procreate in the way.
Yeah, they procreate. They split off energy, right? I heard you say something about that in another podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah. There are a lot of Andromedans who are light beings do split energy. So that's kind of the way that. Hold on, let me get rid of this. That's kind of the way that they operate. Now there are some physical Andromedans from the Andromeda galaxy who do procreate, but they are the deer beings, and those are the only ones that really that anybody would know about, and they're from the Alpharets region. So they're actual deer beings. They have like antlers, and so benevolent race. But people consider Andromedan constellation Andromedans, and that's not correct. The Andromedan constellation is inside the Milky Way. It is not the Andromeda galaxy. So those Andromedans, which are the blue beings in their physical, they're actually Syrian mixtures. So Syrian, then say like some of them have Lyrian, some have Fae, some even have like from Regulus, like the elf, where you would think of elves come from. So
that's fascinating. That really is. Like that's interesting. Like okay, I'm going to ask you this. Like as far as the Lyran Wars, are you under the impression that the Anunnaki were a part of the Lyran Wars and then they came here and they genetically modified man? Like, do you feel like that happened, or do you think that was another race or something like that, or what do you?
So okay,
part of history
so
with that?
yeah, so the Anunnaki is not that far back. So we're talking, if we want to get like technical, the Lyrian Draconian War was between the Lyrian and the Draconians, and the refugees from that war were relocated, into a lot of them, into the Andromedan galaxy. But essentially, the Anunnaki is when you take celestial and mix it with reptilian, you get Anunnaki. So that's way later in the show, so to speak. So there was the Lyrian Draconian War that bled into the Orion Wars. Then the Orion Wars bled into the Earth Terran Wars. And so that's kind of where you get the Anunnaki involved, the Atlanteans, Lemurians, and that kind of whole mess. So
yeah. So take us through galactic history. Where does it all start? Well, let's put it this way: where does it start for humanity and our extraterrestrial genes? Like as far as like what we need to know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess if you want to get technical, the central race, the Elohim, the Order of the Emerald, the Diamond, the Sapphire, and the Amethyst, which was kind of you're talking the levels of heaven and Havana. Essentially, you can kind of, I think there's something called the Urantia Papers that has some good information about the structure of the celestial heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, and I haven't read it, but clients tell me that a lot of the information that I present is found in there. So essentially what it is these orders of archangelics and archaea came forward, and were given the power of creation for the universal constructs. And so these orders, they've always been, helping the ascension of these individual universes. And by the way, we're in the last creation universe, and we are also the last universe to ascend. Now, having said that, this is what we consider Lord Michael's universe. So, and his archaea, which is the feminine counterpart, which is Michaela, Michelle, Lady Faith. That was my archangel. And so anyways, they decided to involute into human form to help propagate the human race. Now, these are not humans like today humans. We're talking way before Homo sapiens sapien. We're talking about like Cro-Magnus, like way back denizens, like back, even before our denizens in Neanderthal. So essentially what happened is they agreed, this was an agreement, to involute down into physicality. That means to go from a higher density into a lower density into physicality, right? Non-physical to physical. Now, when they did that, they had to pass through a veil of like forgetting. So the agreement was they wouldn't remember who they were, their gifts. Like it would be almost like they were kind of starting over, because if you don't know you can do something, you probably won't do it. And so then what happened is there were already other celestials. So there were already other galactic races that were, involved. Like the reptilians have been on Earth for like billions of years. The Spicans, and there was a lot of interdimensional, extra dimensionals, all of that. Now, when those mixed with, because there were a couple races that could also involute into physical form. And when you're involuting into physical form, when you're physical, you have a little bit more freedom about what you can do in terms of procreation. So the Anunnaki were created. And so again, these are half celestial, half reptilian. The reptilians generally during that time were about fourth density. And then the celestials that they were mixed were much higher. Now, the thing is like when you put high density beings into physicality, you get this like effect of like, I always say to my clients like this, what would happen if you gave a 14-year-old little boy a Lamborghini for their first car? Like it's not
They'd
going to
probably
be
wreck it.
pretty if they can even figure
Yeah.
how to drive it. It's an exotic car, right? So you're taking a higher density being and you're stuffing them in a meat suit and putting emotions and lower density and lower chakra and feelings and hormones, like things they've never felt before. And you're going to have some integration issues. So that's kind of what happened, is like they had this battle of the ego, and they had all of these things that we struggle with and we take for granted, and we take as just like that's the way it is. But for them, it was like a very, very short transition. So they didn't have the ability to go from like baby to toddler to child to preteen to teenager. They just went like that. Like it was very, very sudden. So there was some integration issues. And because of that, ego got in the way, and they would do things that maybe weren't in line with what we would think is of the light. So whether it's becoming geneticists and tinkering with things. So Lord Michael and his archaea involuted into physicality. And what happened after they involuted is they forgot everything. So the Inky trapped them. Okay, he was an Anunnaki, trapped them because they don't have any memory. And basically, the reason why the Garden of Eden talks about like it's a paradise, Latin paradiso, which means prison, and essentially it was a way to trap them so that they wouldn't remember who they were, which means they wouldn't propagate the human race. So there was this whole like sub backstory. So yeah, they did not create humans, but they did tinker with our genetics. And they tinkered with the original strain, capping the telomeres. I mean, there are other people that talk about this, but essentially there was a lot that went on to doing that. And then those strains coming to Magnochromis, then going from there to Neanderthal and Denizen splitting off from the main, which eventually would lead to Homo sapien sapien. So yeah, that's kind of where you could say like our genetics come from. But Earth itself is a living library. So this is the only planet that has genetics from the entire omniverse. So not just this universe, but the entire omniverse. So it's very special. And humans are a part of that. Yes, there is, they did tinker with our genetics. That's why we have the reptilian part of the brain, because the Anunnaki themselves come from reptilian mixed with celestial. So a lot of people want to say it's Atlantean, but no, I definitely disagree. Atlanteans were way too in their ego for that.
What do you mean by that? Can you explain? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the Atlanteans, while they did interact with the reptilians quite a bit, it wasn't like that, and they just had this attitude like that we interact with them, but we're better than them. So the fact that people say that they interbred with the reptilians is no. If we want to get technical, the Spicans were kind of responsible for that. The Spicans, you probably would know them as the Greek and Roman gods. But essentially, think about the stories that you hear about them. They had the ability, they were light beings, but they were elemental interdimensionals. So they had the ability to go from ninth density and involuting down into fifth density. So I told you what would happen if you give a 14-year-old a Lamborghini. So that's the analogy for them, because they're going from ninth density all the way to 5D. And that is a huge jump. And so literally you're giving, a 14-year-old mentality, putting it into a adult body that can shoot lasers out of its eyes. Like there's going to be a lot that can happen. So when they did like to have fun, and they did definitely copulate with lower density beings. When you're in that form, you're thinking all with your lower chakras. What are the lower chakras? Your root, your sacral, your solar plexus. That testosterone slash, I want to have sex slash I want to fight. I want to, I fear things, whatever, anger, all of that. So they're the ones that really kind of mix with the reptilians, because they were kind of right there in the same developmental range. Now, when the Spicans were light beings, they were very ascended. Like you would think you were talking to another light being. They didn't have all that, but they released their physicality. But again, when they were in physical, it was a different story.
That's interesting. And by the way, guys, you can start putting your questions for Mina in the chat, and we'll get to your questions. I'll pick out some of the best ones, and we'll go from there. So, do you agree with like a lot of the work of like Elena Danan or like Ashiana Dean? Do you know them, and what do you think about their work? Like, do you agree with it? Is it similar? It sounds like it is.
To be honest, I have no idea. I've heard of them. I don't, because I'm a channeler and because I don't want to corrupt the information I have. I don't read spiritual books. I don't watch other people's stuff. Occasionally I will, like if it's short form, but I don't go out of my way to like research people, and because I don't want my information to be tainted or colored by what they channel. So I try to keep things as integrity as full of my integral form as possible. So
This is a good one. This is from Sheba. She wants to know what's the difference between ego and self love.
Well, I mean, ego is neither good nor bad, right? I mean, those, first of all, good and bad is a human connotation, but ego is just the awareness of self and care for self, either whether it be over the top or not. But confidence and self love, I mean, self love in and of itself is about showing those higher frequency vibrational emotions to yourself, where the ego can be lower frequency or higher. So the self, she has self-confidence, right? Or was it self-love? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, she said stuff. But the way I think about it is, I think it's like, your ego is kind of that voice that's like in the back of your head that like gives you like information. Sometimes you don't want it. And then self love is just like learning how to like care and love for yourself, like,
Yeah,
so the,
well, ego is from the mind and self-love is from the heart. So it's, I mean, it's exactly like that. So if you have to think about, if it's all logical, analytical, then it's from the ego, it's from the mind. But if it's all passed through your heart chakra, meaning like it comes from a space of love, then it's self-love.
so self love like basically emanates from pure consciousness, right? In a way.
From pure source consciousness, yeah.
That's interesting. Selena Ingalls wants to know, can you tell by looking at someone if they are from Andromeda too?
Yes. Yeah. I usually, well, okay, let me rephrase that. I can absolutely tell when somebody is from Andromedan Galaxy. Andromedan constellation's a little too convoluted. There's too many races that kind of go off from that. So sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Oh, I like that the question appeared. But yeah,
I put her picture up on the screen. Does she feel like she has any relation to any ET races? Selena's a great person. She's an amazing
mhm.
person. She's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, it's also too in the eyes. The eyes are really big and super expressive. And so yeah, absolutely, 100%. Um, I actually think Andromedan Alpharets. Actually, it's interesting, and that's
What's
Andromedan
that mean? What's
Galaxy.
that mean?
That's
And
the deer beings. Yeah, they're Andromedan Galaxy, so they're true Andromedans, but they're the deer beings. So yeah, I absolutely would say that because of your expressive eyes. But again, that's also the energy that I'm feeling from you too, as well. I'm talking to Selena. So, but beyond that, I do have a report that I do. It's called a Galactic History Report, and I do actually use your time of birth and your birth chart, and we actually go in deep and see every incarnation you've ever had. And I'll even tell you your jobs, like who you worked with, your karmic analysis, your gifts, your blockages, all of that. So it's a 2 hour long report, and it's a lot of information. So
wow. Do you mix that in with like regular astrology?
mm, the only tie to the regular astrological is the birth chart part, but I go beyond that. So the birth chart just looks at the immediate houses, but beyond that I actually go deeper into see which stars in which star systems were aligned during that time of your birth.
That's cool. That's interesting. I think that's so cool. Sheba wants to know, can you tell other beings like her? And so you can see her picture on the screen. Sheba
uh,
Winu. I have a great
I
audience. They're really good people. They're all like
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, so I'm picking up a lot of Syrian, so cetacean being, but also possibly Mintakan mer person. So I also had a life as Mintakan mermaid from the binary planet system of Artuvia and Tutulumia. And unfortunately, they're no longer around because of the Orion Wars. But yeah, I'm absolutely picking up Syrian from a cetacean being as well as a Mintakan Mer person.
I love how detailed you get into it. I mean, you get like really deep into this stuff. Like I couldn't remember all this stuff. So you obviously have a gift, and like it's obviously meant that you're meant to know this stuff. Like, and you're supposed to be
Oh
bringing this
yeah.
stuff out because like nobody can just like that's so amazing that you're able to do that.
So
Shiva,
I have a
sorry, go
I
ahead.
have a photographic memory and a phonographic memory, and so ever since I was little, I so these are memories too. Remember, so I never forget my memories. So it's kind of a curse and a blessing because I also never forget the bad stuff. But beyond that, it's pretty a good gift, and then I can also put my hand on books and kind of get information from the books. So yeah.
I'll go back to the beginning of the questions because there was a couple good ones at the beginning. It'll take me a second. So let me see here. Let me see what question I have for you. Oh, this one's from Dean Thorpe. He says that this was the one I was going to ask you at the beginning. He says wait, let me get to it here. I'll put it up on the screen. And he says, question, is there a group who I can call when I dream or astral? They are those who populate my dreams with characters and who are responsible for what might perceive as organized attacks in the astral.
Mm. Well, I will say this, if you do have reptilian or draconian in your chart and you don't have the balance of either like Aquila Avian or Archangel, sometimes that can put you at risk for psychic attacks. That can also be attacks in the astral. So if you're experiencing, astral projections or, astral dreams where you're being attacked or you have like very, very like, evolved type of, fighting or scenes like that. Absolutely. In fact, I've done a great battle in the astral and it does happen. Now, if you're being hurt, if this is something that's continually going, then you might need to get your energetic armor taken a look at. So we have different energetic bodies. There's your E body, your etheric body, your astral body, your soul body, your light body. Like there's so many versions, and I do have a meme on my a meme on my Instagram. It's like a little photo that has all of them. But essentially, you might have holes in those. And so you might just need to get those sealed up. And I also do that as well in different light language healings and things like that. And I can actually see the holes if you have portals, if you have entities, if you have implants, all of that. So those can all cause these things to be a little wonky for you in the astral. And also, when your gifts are coming online, if they are coming online in a hurry and you're getting a lot of downloads, that can cause this as well.
No, it's interesting. The implants are a big thing. It seems like I know a friend of mine. Her name's Indigo Angel. She does like what are called like J seals. She finds them on people. I guess they were placed there by the Draconians. Like,
Mm.
and she removes those. Like, so do you have a lot of people who like want implants removed and stuff like that? And are they a
Yeah.
lot of times are they etheric?
Uh, Yes, I don't really deal with the physical ones. I am a psychic surgeon, so I do actually, but I do the implants, but more often than not, I close portals in people. A lot of people have portals. It's almost like you can think of it like a black hole, sucking everything into it, and it obviously your own energy, and everybody feels fatigued. I also remove entities. Having the Archangel life kind of gives me a better healing range because we are the creators of the universe. I can actually manipulate the energy, so I can command entities away. I can see all the different spectrums, so the interdimensionals and things like that can be troubling people. So yeah, my stuff ranges all over the place. So I just look, I see the person, we have a consultation, then we figure out what they need or if they
That's
know
cool.
already.
Yeah, this is a good question. I found this one here. This is from Don Rogers, and he wants to know: is it feel normal? I don't know if it's showing up on the screen. He says, "Is it normal to feel unbalanced or out of place when being returned when taken from the Octurians?"
100%, 100%. By taking anyone, with anyone. I mean, you're literally going from a higher density place and being placed into this, like, the densest places, like this is one of the densest places in the universe. It is the dense place. So, yeah, absolutely. You're going to feel unbalanced. If that's the least of your problems, I mean, count yourself lucky at that point because the Arcturians are light beings. They're very, very highly evolved, and so to be able to interact with them is definitely taxing on the body energetically, and not just your physical, but I'm talking about your energetic body, etheric body, all of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Let me see here. Oh, this is a good one. This one's from Karen Lambert. Karen says, "Is there a fractal on the ship, or is she completely here?" So she wants to know: is there a fractal of you on your ship right now, or are you completely here?
Oh, I mean, yeah. So my case is kind of interesting. I do have fractals, and those are the other lives. Like we know, the past, present, future is not linear. Time is not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously. Now, what the fractal thing is, we have the oversoul. You can think of your oversoul as your higher self. And one of the other things I'm going to start offering is the soul blueprint, which is really cool. But anyways, you have the oversoul, which is your higher self. Then it fractals into your individual incarnations, and then those incarnations express and have their own, kind of existence. But there are certain beings, like for example, my Andromedan self is a 12th density light being. So because it's a light being and I don't have a physical body, and because I am a shapeshifter, I can shapeshift into physical forms to help facilitate communication. I actually beam my entire body in this human avatar. Now, there are people who have ships and have a body like Avatar style waiting in the ship in ET form. And so they're streaming their consciousness into their human avatar. Absolutely 100%. And there are people like me and others who are high level, who have a lot of different fractals, a lot of different ships, and they have multiple parts of consciousness streaming into this human avatar at any given time.
That's interesting. This is a good one. This one's from the Andromedan. He goes by the Andromedan as well. He says, I have a
Yes.
question. He said,
Yes.
does the guest know about Mirak or Almach in the Andromeda constellation? He says.
Yes, the Moroccians and the Almacians, absolutely, 100%. One of my favorites. I like to talk about them. I didn't have lives as them, but I absolutely adore them. The Moroccians are 8 to 10 feet tall, blue androgynous beings. They don't speak verbally; they are telepathic. I call them the Geek Squad of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds, or whatever you want to call it. Let's not get into the technical stuff. But essentially, they build all the spaceships, the alien tech, the stargates. They were responsible for a lot, like every stargate on the planet, by the way. They're amazing, and they're great to work with. And then the Almacians are 7 feet tall. Actually, in ancient Sumatra, on the temple drawings, there were these drawings of these giant winged beings that were blue. They were aerodynamic, meaning they had no hair. They had elf-like ears, and they had wings. And the wings were actually organic tech. So what that tech was used for was interdimensional travel. And so the Almacians are absolutely beautiful. I think, and a lot of people, I believe that these are the ones that are mixed with the Regulus elves I was talking about earlier. They have elf-like ears, and some of their wings actually look like feather wings, and some look like fairy wings. This is why they were confused with archangels. This is why people think archangels have wings, like feather wings, is because the Almacians. And so they thought in ancient Sumatra that these were archangels, but actually they're Andromedans, the Almacians. So yeah, they're a really amazing race, and both obviously come from the Andromedan constellation. So very cool.
Wow.
So
This
glad I
is
got that
another
question.
one. That you guys know. You guys know this advanced stuff. This one's from Angel Wing. She says, "Can she sense my seraphim aspect and all my Sirius connections? My seraphim aspect seems to connect me to everything." She says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's different levels of angels. There's the Oraphim, the Seraphim, the Archangels, the Cherubs. Like there's so many different levels. Again, going back to the layers of heaven. So yeah, absolutely. I can pick up on. So give me just a second here. I'm actually getting a little Oraphim, which is interesting. Um, hmm. Yeah, I'm getting more Oraphim, but you should really check into the Oraphim and kind of their place on things. They are higher than the Seraphim, but yeah, take a look at the Oraphim, do a little research. I think they call them something like humans call them something else. They call them like, or I don't know. It's like another O word, but it's not Oraphim. But they have always it's always been Oraphim. So I don't know where they got the other one. The series.
Oh, sorry, just dropped my mic. It's okay. Oh my God.
It was so.
That was so
Are you
loud.
good?
Sorry.
It was so
Yeah, I'm good.
okay. And then the Sirius connection. So let me just see. I'm actually getting Sirius A. Interesting. So Sirius A, when you organically take Lyrian sulfat, Lyrian ring nebula, and take Sirius C DNA and mix it together, that's what the Sirius A beings are. So Lyrian sulfat is feline, think Basset, Sukhmet, and then Lyrian ring nebula, think canine. And when I say canine, I mean wolf. Okay, I mean like lichen, giant, 10 to 15 feet warrior types. But when you mix those with the Sirians from Sirius C, which is humanoid, you get the Sirius A. And the more famous one you would know would be Anubis. Anubis was the canine version, a jackal humanoid. And then the feline version was Oxacate, and that was the Incan and Mayan jaguar god. So you get lesser canine, lesser feline. And that's the Sirians from Sirius A. And so that's what I'm picking up with her.
Oh, that's amazing. We got a super chat. So thank you for your super chat, Maya Kaya. It's good to see you. And she says, Happy holidays, Rob and everyone. I am Totem Octurian. Oh, sorry, it just disappeared off the screen. Sorry.
Yeah, it went away.
It should show up. Okay. She says, Happy holidays, Rob and everyone. I'm Totem Arcturian. Am I? Thanks, Mina, she says.
So I'm getting actually a Orion Nebula. I'm getting amphibious being. I'm also getting Andromedan. So it's interesting, but not Andromeda Galaxy, Andromeda. I'm getting Tetuan. Andromedan constellation. They're shapeshifters like my race, but they are from the Andromedan constellation, so they're a little bit more related to Syrians, if you want to get technical. But yeah, I'm actually picking that up. The Arcturian, you worked with the Arcturians. You worked with the Arcturians, but I don't see that you had a life in Arcturus, but you definitely worked with them. Yeah.
That's interesting. So do you think she's like some sort of like a spawn of a humanoid or something like that? Like a Lyran or like I think you just said it right or what you can explain this stuff so much better than me. Sorry, man, I get tongue tied.
Okay. It's all right. Yeah, so I do see possible you had a speak in life as well. So I also had a speak in life, and the Speakins work very closely with the Arcturians. Like if they had a best friend, like we'd be their best friend, and because
I was told I'm speaking.
Yes. So Speakins are amazing. I told you that's the Greek and Roman gods. So they had the ability to go from ninth density down to fifth density into involute into physicality, the ones I was talking about. So the reason why we did that was so that we could help the Arcturians. The Arcturians are light beings. They can't communicate very easily with physical beings. And the reason why they even need to do that is because they specialize in soul fragment retrieval. So think about it like this. Let's talk about trauma for a second. When you experience trauma, okay, and you have a physical body, your physical body is the first line of defense. It's your filter. Think about psychology. What is the brain? It's part of your body, and it filters all of your external things, right? So now the Arcturians, so think about the most traumatic event, everybody, that you've ever experienced. If you have something to draw on, did you feel like you lost a piece of yourself? If you did, it's because you actually did lose a piece, a fractal of your soul. What happens is when you experience trauma, your soul fractals, and those fractals then attach themselves to a person, place, thing, event, or emotion, and then you have to find yourself. Okay, this is why we say this, is because you're literally doing trauma work, which is to collect the pieces, just like a broken vase. If it breaks, you can't begin to put it back together unless you got all the pieces. So you got to collect the pieces first. That's what soul fragment retrieval is. But the Arcturians can go in and go, there you go. Here's that piece you were looking for. Boom, there it is. So much faster, so much simpler. But in order to do that, they need consent. And in order to get consent, you got to be able to communicate with the being you're trying to get consent with. Then come the Speakins. And they help by facilitating that communication by involuting down into physicality.
Yeah, I had an ex-girlfriend who she did soul retrieval, and she said it changed her life. She said it was like absolutely like life-changing, like amazing. She said I've heard like really good things about that.
It's the best for trauma work for sure.
Yeah, this one's from Angel Lori. She says, "Do bruises on the body happen when returning from astral travel multidimensionally, or would that be?" I'll just add to her question. I was going to say, would that be more like alien abduction, or is it? Could it be both?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it could be both, but absolutely it does happen when returning from astral travel multidimensionally. I have woken up so many times with my wrist being like bruised or something like that because I'm literally like fighting in the astral, and I'm not a thrasher. Like I'm like very still when I sleep. I don't move from like that position. So I'm not a thrasher. I don't, so it's definitely that'll have sometimes it kind of almost, it doesn't look like handprints, but like you can kind of see like pads a bit, like maybe one or two, or bruises on my legs, my arm, or I just feel like I've been beat up. So yeah, absolutely, that is definitely, and then I remember what happens in the astral, so it helps to know that.
Yeah, I'm seeing if there's any other questions. Well, let me ask you this: is there anything that you wanted to cover before we? Because we're kind of winding down. Is there anything else you want to cover, but that we might have like not forgot about that we?
Yeah. um I mean, so I've got some really exciting things that are happening. I'm just going to throw this out there. So in addition to the Galactic History Report, which I will be stop offering soon. So if you really want to do this and you want to know like where you come from, and you actually get a PDF and it's like there on paper, definitely book soon, because I won't be offering it anymore. I'm actually shifting focus. I'm going to be teaching the new monetary system, which is 5D Andromedan technology. And then I'm also going to be focusing on getting the new Starseed country up and off the ground and running. And I did say country, and I mean an actual country, passports and everything, for Starseeds. It's here in Europe. So I'm working on that. So I need to
That would
shift
be
focus.
amazing.
Yeah,
That
it's
would be
already,
amazing.
we've already got passports, we've already got a monetary system, we've already declared independence, everything. So I'll be going to settle it in February for 25 days, getting my passport and everything. So it'll be pretty
Wow.
amazing.
Karen wants to know. Karen Lambert wants to know. She just says, "How can I get a natal chart reading, or which will tell?" And then she says, "Will that tell me all the beings I've interacted with?"
So yes, you can. It's not a natal. I call it a galactic history report. It's going to tell you all of your incarnations or parallel lives, depending on how you want to look at it, starting from the past, from the moment you fractaled from source up until now. I don't talk about human stuff because I'm going to tell you right now, about 90% of star seeds have never been human before. What you're remembering, or what you think you remember, is actually implanted lives. And you can look up Dolores Cannon. She talks about it. I think Dr. Michael Newton talks about it. But these are implanted memories to give you a kind of a frame of reference about how to be human. But you definitely want to get them soon if you're going to get the Galactic History Report. Like I said, I am running a special, by the way. If you use the code EXPAND, you get 20% off to help with the holidays. But anyways, it will tell you every being you've interacted throughout your past or your parallel lives. So not about like your human life. I'm not going to tell you about who you've talked to in your life. I hope you would know at this point, but it will give you an inclination in who's interacting with you now in this life. And I will do a full in-depth karmic analysis about all your karmic debt, as well as how it pertains to this life and like why things happen the way they happen. So
That's awesome. And remember, guys, use the code EXPAND and you'll get 20% off. So that's um, and what do you want to just tell everybody your website before we finish up? And thank you so much for doing this. This was amazing. I thought I had so much fun. This is so interesting. I think the audience
thank
really liked
you.
it well as well.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Yeah, you can reach me. My handle is Mina Full Travels, like meaningful travels, but Mina, MINAFUL travels with an S.com. And then you can also search me on all YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's Mina Full Travels. And so you can access and book a reading that way.
Yeah, and thank you so much. This was amazing, and I just want to say on my end, guys, you can find my stuff anywhere. I have all the links for everything in the description. Support the podcast if you can, and thank you guys all, and have a good night, everybody. This is the last video for me, by the way. Sometimes I do more than one video. Like